and we are live.
Acting foolish, overdressed, confusing the crowd. You won't see me at this bar again. Happy hour, habits, lost my feet on the ground. Whiskey 7 on my cardigan. Last night.
Coming to you live from the great state of Wisconsin is the Overdue Sports Show. Well, this is actually episode 1 of Call to the Pen, our MLB podcast. To my right, we have a super special guest here, Sam at Discuss Baseball on Twitter. Go give him a follow. He pumps out awesome stuff for MLB. So if you're a baseball guy, go give him a follow. Sam, how we doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. This has been a long time coming. Overdue Sports is the mecca of what I love on Twitter. So super excited to get cracking into this thing.
Yeah, man, we're gonna be previewing the American League today, so we're gonna go through each of the divisions. We'll preview anything noteworthy with the teams, whether or not we think they're gonna go over or under their projected win totals, and if we're feeling frisky, maybe what place they're gonna get in the division. So we're gonna hop right into this thing. We're starting in the AL West with the Houston Astros at 93.5 wins. Sam already kind of spoiled this one today on Twitter on how he feels with the Astros, but I agree too. Like this feels way too low for a team that is more than capable of breaking 100 wins.
100%. If we're going strictly just like right out of the gate, like if I'm choosing the over under, I'm gonna have to go over on this one. This is my AL West division winner. I published an article. We both write for the Skipper's View. If you guys want to go read that, feel free to do that. But I kind of in my description, it's so hard to bet against a team with Jose Altuve in that lineup, and then like Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez, Jeremy Pena, and Chas McCormick, sneaky, really good. Yainer Diaz is a question mark, but in a good way. And Jose Abreu could bounce back too. So this is a really dangerous lineup, and I get that the AL West is super loaded, at least at the top. We're probably going to talk about the A's for like 10 minutes, just like making fun of them. But this team is built for 162. I just don't see a world where they don't win the division this year, just because they've won it in every single full season since 2016. So it's an over for me.
Yeah, 100%, dude. And the pitching is fantastic. Like, the fact that the weak link right now might be like Hunter Brown, maybe, but I think he's gonna have a breakout year. Like he was kind of a tale of two halves last year. Like he really struggled in the second half, but I think he's gonna put it together this year, and they're just gonna be nasty. Like this team is just, you're right. They're built for 162. Like they're deep in every single piece. Like when I look at over unders, I always look at like how deep a pitching staff is. Like if somebody goes down, is it gonna really be a problem? And I just don't think that's the case for the Astros. Like,
100%.
As much as I hate to say it, like,
you do kind of make a point with their weakest link is kind of pitching depth. Right now, I'm looking at their roster resource on Fangraphs, and Ronald Blanco and JP France kind of round out that rotation. But is Verlander out for the entire year? Is that
he? I don't know. I think he's supposed to come back.
I think so too. And when he comes
I know
back,
he's behind schedule, but I don't know what that means for him. I know he'll be pitching at some point this year, but that man just defies time.
He does.
It doesn't matter when he shows up. Like he's going to be ridiculously good.
It has to be Kate Upton, right? It has to be Kate Upton. But we didn't even touch base on Alex Bregman in a contract year, so he could pop off too. And then
I think he's going to go nuts.
Yeah, I think Alex Bregman is becoming one of the most underrated players in the game today. I really do.
And they added Josh Hader to lock down games, dude. Like this bullpen is like, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about Yainer Diaz. The catching tandem isn't like all world or anything. Like Carantini is serviceable. Like he was good enough in Milwaukee when he was here.
I think that's the right word for their catching tandem in general. It's just good enough. All they really have to be kind of is just decent, and they'll be okay. I haven't seen like a big enough sample size on Yainer to say I really like this guy. But then again, like when he was on the field last year, he was just a stud. So it's hard to bet against him.
Yeah, I agree. And you, like you said, like this division is so top loaded. And I've thrown it out there. Like I've got a feeling the Rangers might miss the playoffs.
Yep. You and Nick's picks are right on that. It's honestly, it's kind of scaring me because I'm still high on them. When we get to them, I'll talk about it a little bit. But
I still like, for how good the division is, I still find it hard to believe that this team wins less than 95 games. Like,
agreed.
and what was their regular season last year? How many did they win last year? They broke.
They won. They won 90 last year. They won 90, but that was also in an AL West where the Rangers won 90 as well. The Mariners won 88,
and they were missing guys for that first chunk.
And they 100%.
Yeah, like to me, this just feels like it's going to go over. It's not something that I've bet, but I typically, like, I always look to having 3 teams go over, 2 teams go under in these divisions. I think Houston's an easy over.
I'd have to agree. Should we move on to the next club?
Yep, we're moving on to the Los Angeles Angels. This is going to be a boring one because no Shohei Ohtani, like, and Mike Trout, obviously, like, I still believe that Mike Trout could win an MVP. Like, I don't care what people tell me.
I agree as well. I still believe in the bat. What's their total at?
It's at 72.5. I have them going under. I feel like they're, and I like the young talent. Like, I really like Zach Neto, and I love Logan O'Hoppe. Mickey Moniak is another guy that I think can, like, really produce if he puts it together. But there's a world where this might be the worst team in baseball. Like, it might be close.
No doubt. I'm gonna go under as well with you, not to be boring and keep the same train, but I totally agree. I think they have a bit of a higher ceiling than, like, let's say the A's, obviously, but their floor is their floor could be lower than the White Sox. Their floor could be lower than the Royals. So I think if we're actually going to put money on this, or if we were to, I'm going to go under. I like the hire with Ron Washington. I think he's going to be great for the young guys. Like you said, you really like Neto. What's not to like about O'Hoppe? And then Nolan Schanuel, too, is a guy. I know Foolish Baseball doesn't like him very much for this season, but but Schanuel's my guy. I saw him play in the Cape League in 2022. I was covering the team he was playing for. That's just a guy who he's going to show up every day, and he's going to work just painfully good at bats on pitchers. And I'm talking so much that I like all these guys, but I am going to have to go under just because there's so many guys in this club that are inexperienced. It could be mid-season, and Anthony Rendon could get hurt again. Trout could get hurt again, and this team could look.
He's not playing a full season.
Yeah, this team could look like a real disaster. So
it could, yeah. And I don't love the pitching.
No,
I mean,
me neither.
They've got
like
Tyler Anderson tied up in that horrible contract after he put up like a 2.6 in LA.
Yeah,
with the Dodgers, and then he got his bag.
This. I mean, this is it's the classic Dodgers. You get him for a year, he looks like an all-star, and then you flip him to a team who's just going to overpay. But I do like Sandoval, and I do think there's some value with Detmers and Canning as well. But there's not enough for me to really like this club at least in terms of over 72.5 wins. Is that what it is?
Yeah. Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I really like Reed Detmers. He's got some really good strikeout stuff. Like, obviously, Ben Joyce, if he puts it together in the bullpen, can be one of the better relievers in baseball. The dude was a freak at Tennessee. But yeah, I just don't think they have depth in the staff.
Agreed. And Ben Joyce is really fun, and I do like what they did with their bullpen, adding Luis Garcia and Adam Simber, Cisnero. I see is in there now too, and Matt Moore seems to be always super consistent. So there is a world where this team does get over on that win total, especially like you said, how we both believe Mike Trout could still be an MVP. So there's totally a world where this team could even fight for a wild card spot still. They have the talent to do it, but just with the history with the Angels and their injuries and all that stuff, it's got to be an under. It's so risky. It's so risky. Every year you think they're going to do something and they don't. And they don't even have Ohtani anymore.
I was just about to say that. Like, I feel like the last like 5 years, I've been like, I kind of think the Angels might make some noise this year, and they just disappoint. There's something happening in that developmental system or like in the back end that we don't see. That's just horrible. Like they have to be like 10 years behind the rest of the MLB. Like
No
I
doubt.
just don't get it.
No doubt, especially with their trainers room and just the way they handle injuries. It seems like guys are always, once they come back, they just get hurt again. And there's definitely something to be said about like the dog days of summer, and this team has never really handled that super well. Like this year, like they'll probably start off in April like 13-3 or something, and everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, like look at this, like they don't need Otani, and then you're gonna be 75, 80 games in, and they're gonna be in the basement.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a rough second half for Angels fans.
100%.
Pushing over to the Texas Rangers, over under 88.5. I'm going on the under, but I think it's really damn close. Like I mentioned this at the very beginning. Like I have a feeling they're going to miss the playoffs, but I have a feeling they're going to miss the playoffs with like 86 wins.
I could see that, especially with how loaded the American League is, because when I was doing my standings predictions, I just did that the other day. It felt wrong to kind of leave out the Rays. It felt wrong to kind of leave out the Blue Jays, the Twins as well, even though the Central's kind of a different story. But I like what the Rangers did this offseason, and I get that. What's the total? 88.5. I'm going over just to put that out, just because they're a playoff team for me. I just don't think they've gotten worse. Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter, you're going to get full seasons of them. So we'll see what they can do. Obviously, I don't know if Seager can repeat what he did last season, although I think he's going to, because I think he's my MVP.
I do too.
I'm just a guy who's super high on the Rangers, and obviously it might not work out, but typically Bochy's teams after winning World Series, they don't really go on those hangovers or droughts, hence the dynasty over in San Francisco. So I think this team's going to kind of keep it rolling. And their pitching is a bit of a question mark, but if they get Scherzer back at some point in the season, they might be okay. And they did just add Lorenzen too, which makes me like them a little bit more. Wait, did they?
I do like that move.
They did add Lorenzen, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think you nailed it.
That's kind of my thing. I just think that they improved a little bit. And there totally is a world. You're not wrong at all. There's totally a world where they win 86, 87 games and don't even make the playoffs, with how good the American League is. But I'm going boring and chalk and saying that they'll be in it. They'll be the first wild card. They're my 4 seed in my opinion.
I like it. I mean, they've got 2 guys that, in my opinion, are the AL Rookie of the Year. Like it's going to be one of. I don't think it's Holiday. Like I've been saying it, and I
100%.
know that.
Especially
I don't know if
he just didn't make the opening day roster, it seems.
Yeah, which I didn't think he would, to be honest. Like I think he probably should have, but they don't really have a spot for him right now. So I get it. But they've got one of the AL MVP or the AL Rookie of the Years, and I'm with you on Seager. Like I like the under on this, but don't get me wrong. Like this team is 100% like primed to make another run, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see it. Like even a guy like John Gray, until Scherzer gets back, like John Gray has nasty stuff, and he had it in Colorado too. Just a really not pitcher friendly place to throw. And he can be like a huge piece of this rotation, especially when Scherzer comes back. Like if John Gray throwing well is your number 3, this is going to be a miserable team to face.
100%, especially in a 3-game series too. And just like imagine if this team like still had Cole Reagans too, and like you're about to get like a full season of Reagans. Like, God bless the Royals for getting him,
dude. 100%. The only weak spot, I actually think losing Mitch Garver is going to hurt them more than they think.
I could see that for sure. I could see that for sure.
I know that like Langford will pick up a lot of the DHABs that Garver was getting. But we saw how bad Kinzer was in St. Louis last year. So he's their number 2. I still really like Jonah Heim. Like I think he's a stud. Like he's the clear cut number 1 there, no matter what.
No, I agree. I agree in the sense that like I don't like Kinzer is such a downgrade from Garver, and it's important in the 162 to have like a nice secondary catching option. And Garver is kind of that guy who could keep Heim fresh I don't think Heim will be an all-star this year just because of that. I think he's going to kind of get worn down a little bit. So that's definitely a good point you make there. We're and then losing Garver, like he's in a division rival now too, so it gets a little interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, speaking of that division rival, we're going to move to the Seattle Mariners, which is my first official bet of this episode. It's over under 87.5. I am on the over. I was on this over last year, and they missed on the hook. I caught it like the day before opening day, and they won 87 last year, and I was on 88.5. No, they won 88 last year, and I was on 88.5.
Damn.
So I'm out for revenge. I'm on it again, and it's almost essentially the exact same logic. And last year I said that this lineup didn't have. Actually, last year I said that the weak spot in the lineup was J.P. Crawford, which couldn't have been further from wrong because he was ridiculous last year, and I think he's only going to keep getting better. Like I think he could be a top 10 shortstop this year. I think Ty France is going to have a huge bounce back.
He is number 10, and I think a Ty France bounce back would be super cool too. I'm gonna ride with you here too. I might even tail this bet. I might have to talk to Nick about it too to see what he thinks. But we got to get a 3-man show with me.
We do. We got to get him on.
That would be awesome. I'm sure he'd come on. But I think this team got better. I really do. They traded 100%. Away Suarez and they traded Hernandez is gone. Yeah, they didn't trade away Hernandez. He's a free agent. But those are two kind of big guys who struck out a lot. And here Dipoto brings in guys who kind of put the ball in play a little more, like Polanco and Urias. And then Josh Rojas is a guy that I could see making some noise. And then like we've talked about with Mitch Garver. And then Luke Raley too. I mean, their lineup is super. This is the most balanced.
And Mitch Haniger.
This team
I love that signing.
Incredibly balanced. Just pitching wise, their starting pitching depth is so good. I mean, when you have Brian Wu and Bryce Miller in the back end of your rotation, you're doing something right. They get Gregory Santos in the pen, although I think he's a little bit hurt right now. And then Brash's health is a question mark too. But when you get those two guys healthy in the season, this team's going to be really dangerous. I could see them just totally like finding their footing in the middle of the summer, maybe post All-Star break. Maybe you get another piece from the trade deadline and just kind of hitting cruise control and just easily making a wild card spot.
Yeah, 100%. Like they've got two guys in the rotation that are going to be in the AL Cy Young race in Castillo and Kirby. And I think Gilbert is like not far out of that conversation. He had a down year last year, but like talent wise, I think he can be in that conversation. And like you said, like when you have Brian Wu and Miller rounding out the rotation, and even the guy like Emerson Hancock, like if somebody goes down, like he's next guy up, and we know he has good stuff.
100%.
The bullpen is crazy. Like
100%.
Santos, Munoz, Spire, Brash. Like this team is just a slam dunk for me.
Right. And Munoz, geez. I mean, there's a world where this team wins the AL West too. It's so hard because this is such a three-horse race. But like, man, like it feels weird taking the over for all three of those teams because they're going to beat up on each other too. But like, there's just something about all three. They're all playoff teams in my eyes. So I really like what the AL West has done.
I 100% agree. I want your opinion on this. What do you think playing the division less helps these teams? Like, especially specifically like the West and the East. Like do they play? I can't remember what the exact number is, but they play a significant less games in the division. So like, sure, you get less games against Oakland, but you get less games against Houston too. So like, I think that it makes it easier to go over. But
100%. I couldn't agree more. I think that's kind of why I'm okay with having three AOS teams make the playoffs and having two of them be wildcard teams. Because I think they used to play each other 19 times a season. I think it was, which is crazy. So you're just naturally going to beat up on each other, and your win totals are naturally just going to be lower. So I feel a lot more comfortable with the new schedule format on taking the over for all three of these teams, just because of that. That's a great point you make.
Yeah, and moving on to the fifth and final team in the AL West, which is another bet of mine, the Oakland A's, over under 57.5. I am on the over, and I have bet that over. This was the most popular under bet probably ever last year. I believe it was 60.5 last year, and they weren't even close to that. And this year at 57.5, this is the lowest total set ever for an MLB team. And I don't buy it. This team is better than last year. Like clear cut. Like I don't think it's actually close. This team is significantly better than last year. You'll have some guys that are actually getting some experience now. Guys like Esteury Ruiz, who stole 67 bags last year, only second behind Acuna. Zach Geloff for a full year. Even Nick Allen, I think, can be helpful. Like Mason Miller will be healthy. And then they went and signed who did they just sign? Ross Stripling and Alex Wood.
Yep.
And I like that.
No.
Like it's not amazing signings, but the fact that those guys are now like their middle of the rotation guys. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like this team is probably a 60-win team. So like you're just gonna have to accept that that's the middle of the rotation, but that's not horrible. That's better than what they rolled out last year.
I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna go over. It feels weird having 4 over win totals in one division and kind of just one under. But like since this line is so incredibly low, I agree with you. I think they've gotten better. I mean, you're gonna get a full season of Geloff, who is still just raking in spring training. I mean, he hasn't shown any signs of slowing down. Brent Rooker and Shea Langeliers are gonna hit a lot of balls over the fence. Seth Brown is a decent piece. I really like how they added J.D. Davis too. Miguel Andujar is tearing it up. He has like a 1.110 OPS in spring training, which don't get me wrong, it's spring training, but like it would just be ridiculous if like Miguel Andujar just like came back and like just went on like a tear. And then I really like Joe Boyle too. I think Joe Boyle, he does walk some guys, which could be an issue. But this rotation, it doesn't look so bad. It does look bad, but for the A's, it doesn't look so bad. For this win total, it doesn't look so bad. Wood and Stripling who are veterans. Blackburn's been there for a while now. And then Mason Miller, we've mentioned, that guy is just nasty. I even think like Mitch Spence could be something in the bullpen as well. And Danny Jimenez. This team, I'm pretty optimistic. I really like how you already smacked this bet on their over, because there's definitely something here where they've got experience and they're kind of no longer just a bunch of rookies trying to like figure stuff out. Yeah, they're going to get beat up in the AOS, but we've just talked about how they don't play those teams as much anymore. So like they could be frisky for sure.
Yeah, and like I know it's like a moral victory, but this team is actually going to be like kind of fun to watch this year. Like they actually have some pieces that I'm gonna want to watch. Like Langoliers, I think is going to be really good. Like I would actually like enjoy watching him, and I enjoy watching Geloff. Like they have some pieces that are worthwhile to tune in, whereas last year it was like miserable watching A's baseball.
Definitely. I mean, Langoliers was pretty horrid at the plate last year, and he still hit like 20, 22 home runs, something like that. So like, he's going to improve at the plate. And then, I mean, they were so miserable last year. Just the fact that like, even like an Abraham Toro off the bench or something, the fact that they have some more vets and then I'll get another year of experience. Like Ryan Noda too. Ryan Noda walks a lot. He's just a classic Moneyball guy. And JJ Bleday too was once a top prospect. So this is honestly kind of a fun roster. I completely agree. I'll be tuning into the A's pretty frequently, I want to say, at least in April, just to kind of see how they look and how they go about themselves.
Moving over to the AL Central, which I'm not a big fan of this division, but it's kind of fun just because there's no juggernaut in this one. So like there's actually some fun things going on. We're kicking off with the Chicago White Sox over under 61.5. I have to go under. Yeah. Like there just isn't enough on the roster for me to sell myself on it. And like, I like some of the pieces. Like Garrett Crochet is fun. Like I've been a fan of him since college.
So fun. He's so
Kopech,
aesthetically pleasing to watch.
Yeah, dude, he can be so good. And like Michael Kopech I feel like he's been like one of the top prospects, even though he's been in the MLB for like 5 years. Like that's how I think about him still. I still
No,
think of him as like
dude,
he could break
that
out
is
this
so
year.
true. Like coming from like a Red Sox fan too, where like we had him and we traded him in the sale deal. Like it seems like this dude is like still like 23 years old to me, even though he's like pushing 30, if not 30. That is like such a good point. That should be a tweet right there for sure.
That's
But
it's going on his 8th year.
speaking of age, this is a veteran graveyard for players to kind of get their like last taste of the show before they kind of depart. Eric Fetty could be a fun story coming back from overseas. He kind of got paid a lot too, but they've added Martin Maldonado, Paul DeYoung, Tim Hill, Max Stassi, Nicky Lopez, Mike Moustakas is still playing baseball or plans to play baseball in 2024. Winton Bernard, Brett Phillips is fun. Don't get me wrong, but man, he has not produced really at the big league level. And then you got like Kevin Pillar and John Brebbia. I mean, this I could go on and on about these ads that they've had. Chris Flexen said, I'm gonna stop because I could just, like I said, just go on and on and on about it. But there are some fun things. There's some fun stuff going on. I like this roster a little bit better than last year. I don't think that they're gonna hit over in terms of wins, but in terms of like where their future's going, obviously like the roster might have been better last year with Cease and some of the other pieces they've traded. But in terms of like their future, this was a needed offseason, I feel like, because Soroka could eat innings for you. I like Jared Schuster a little bit better than I feel like what most people think. You acquire, some prospects, Dominic Fletcher and Samuel Zavala, and then Drew Thorpe is kind of the big pitching piece that they got too from a trade. So it'll be an interesting season in the South Side, but it's going to be an under for me.
Yeah, me too. I mean, when you just like even the Benintendi contract that they're just like deadlocked into right now is brutal for them as just an organization, not even just this year.
That
And say what
Benintendi
you will,
like literally set them back like a couple of years.
yeah, it did 100%. Like there's like, when you look back, like when it's like 2030 and you're looking back at like why the White Sox are still stunted, it's just gonna be that contract. Like, dude, it's so bad. And like I never expected that out of him. Like I didn't think he was worthy of that much money to begin with, but I didn't think it would go that bad. Like that was,
Dude, how many? What do you have? Like 2 home runs last year, or something like that.
he was horrible.
$75 million.
I don't think he, I don't think he hit. If I had to guess, like off the top of my head, he didn't hit above like 220. There's no way.
He hit. Okay, he hit 262 with 5 home runs. So he was a little bit better than what we were giving him credit for. But like, I mean,
for that amount of money to hit 5 home runs,
not 15 million a year.
He was one of the best power hitters in college when he was about to get drafted, and like,
dude, he was. That's why I was so excited when the Red Sox took him. I was like, oh, this guy's gonna hit like 40 bombs a year.
Dude, that's what I thought too.
Metal bat, baby, metal bat.
Moving to the Cleveland Guardians, over under 78.5. I'm going over. This was a bet that I made last year at 88.5, and again worked out horribly for me because they were just. I'm not even gonna say they weren't good last year. The offense wasn't good last year. I made that bet based on the pitching, and the pitching did like what they needed to do. They were top 5 in ERA all year. And they bring back a lot of those pieces. Like we're going to get Tanner Bybee for a full year in year 2. We're going to get Gavin Williams for a full year, and Bo Naylor. Dude, Bo Naylor's going to be a stud.
Gavin Williams is actually starting the year in the IL, but I think he should be back. He should be back at some point. But totally, Bo Naylor and Tanner Bybee is. I mean, they got some young pieces.
I love those two. And even Tristan McKenzie, like if Tristan McKenzie is healthy, like we haven't seen him really fully healthy for a full year yet. So
no, we totally haven't. And it seems like Shane Bieber has kind of figured some stuff out. I know he's in the best shape of my life crowd that everyone kind of gets into in the offseason. But if he could kind of return to form, that would be huge for them. This might be the hardest over under that I've kind of had to debate for preparing for this show. I'm gonna ride the over with you, but I could see it going under because I'm just worried about where this team is. Home runs are the name of the game, and I just don't see many home runs in their lineup outside of Jose Ramirez and Josh Naylor. I mean, it's straight nothing. They were dead last in home runs by 27 last year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but everyone's kind of like in this pack, and then it's kind of the Guardians under everybody, and they didn't really add any power. I mean, Estevan Florial and Austin Hedges are kind of the only bats that they've added, and Austin Hedges, he's only playing for defense. So there's totally the AL Central is so hard, man, because I could see this team finishing in fourth place. I have them finishing in third place. I could see this team finishing in fourth place. That's how bad I could see it getting for them, but I could also see them winning the division. That's why like this division kind of all sucking. Like you said, there's no big juggernaut, like makes me like kind of excited for it in a weird way.
Oh, I'm the exact same way. Like this is a team that like I feel like people are discounting this year. Which like fair, but I actually think the coaching change to Stephen Vogt, I actually think that's going to help the offense a little bit. Like I got a feeling that that's going to change. And like the guys on paper,
dude, Vogt just seems like a vibes guy. Like he's just gonna like bring great vibes 100%. And like keep the bats like hot. Like I feel like that's just gonna be like a fun locker room to be in.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Like but the upside of this team, like you said, is like division winner. Like this team, you can look at this roster and
division winner. They're pitching.
Yeah,
like, that's kind of always been the key for them. But I mean, like they might have one of the best bullpens in the American League with Class A and Barlow now getting traded from San Diego to Cleveland, and then Sandlin and Eli Morgan, and it's hard, man. It's hard because like you wanna kind of believe that like the Tigers could take this step up, or like the Royals have added a lot of guys, but like at the same time, it's like the Guardians are the Guardians, man, and they seem to like figure out how to get it done every year. Like they seem to figure out how to like just string along wins, and they could easily win this division.
Yeah, 100%. There's one more thing I want to put out. Like shortstop is a black hole for this team. Like Andres Jimenez isn't a true shortstop, and they don't really have any true shortstops in the system.
Their Fangraphs projected shortstop right now is Brian Rocchio. And I feel like just the fact that like I don't even know really how to fully pronounce his name yet just shows how unproven he is.
But I don't even think he's like a true shortstop. Like they don't have somebody that can like lock down arguably the most physically demanding position in the game. Like that's the reason why this, like I could see this going under too. Like it's just there's so much 100%. Unknown there.
100%. I wish like just because they were kind of lacking a true shortstop, they just went and got Tim Anderson. I mean, that would have been the funniest left side of the infield ever with just Jose Ramirez and Tim Anderson right there. That would have been crazy.
That would have been that guy, man. Moving to a team that we are both really, really high on this year because they're just we said it all year last year. Like this team is just fun. The Detroit Tigers over under 80.5. Over.
It's only at 80.5. That have you placed money on that or no?
I have not. I'm actually leaning towards taking them as a division winner over the win total. Because I feel like the upside is there. Whereas like if things don't go exactly, which we'll dive into, like some red flags that I have, like they could finish at 78 wins and I wouldn't be surprised.
Very true. Very true. I'm going over on this one. I don't know like where are you over or under on this right now?
Over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Over.
Cool. I'm going over, and I also have them winning this division. I think they're going to be the 3 seed in the American League. And I can't decide if it's because I actually think they're going to win it or just because I want them to so badly. Because when baseball is good in Detroit, it's great for the game. It's a great baseball town. Comerica is a beautiful park. I love Comerica. And then like Tariq Skubal, like, oh my God. I mean, this guy hit 99 today. Like he is my AL Cy Young. I could talk about him for a while. I'm kind of just going to quickly go over him. But Tariq Skubal leading that rotation, then Casey Mize has looked brilliant this spring too. Reese Olson was a guy who emerged last year. Their pitching staff is really impressive to me, and health is a big factor, but it's also a big factor in every team. And Kenta Maeda is a guy who's consistently been able to throw a lot of innings over the last few years. And then Jack Flaherty, it looks like they might have figured something out with him too. So this pitching staff is, I don't know if you want to talk about the lineup at all, but this pitching staff, there's a lot to like in this staff. And then possibly my favorite closer in the game, not because I think he's the best closer in the game, but he's definitely up there, is Alex Lang. That guy just throws. I mean, he's angry every time he comes on the mound, and he throws steam. So this Tigers pitching staff is super fun.
Yeah, dude, I think you nailed it. Like I said, like my one red flag in this team is like Tariq Skubal has never thrown above 120 innings. And so like believe me, like I loved like that potential Cy Young. Like I 100% agree with you. It's just hard for me to vest in that just because like to me this is more of a prove it year, but if he proves it, like the ceiling is Cy Young, which is like
no,
crazy
I don't
to say,
blame you at all. I mean, health is it's just a huge factor.
Yeah. And the lineup is good, man. Like I like the younger players they have. Riley Green, I think, can be a stud. Like he was banged up a little bit last year. Matt Vierling, I like a lot. Like Kerry Carpenter. Torkelson is starting to figure it out with the chase stuff, which I'd love to see. Like I think he's gonna hit like 35 bombs this year.
No, 100%. It was super encouraging to see him kind of take that second step up and separate himself a little bit in the second half. So I think a full season of torque could be really good for this lineup. And some sneaky pickups they had this offseason were Mark Canha, like right at the start of the offseason, and then Gio Urshela could be decent too. He missed like the whole year last year or something like that with an injury. So no one will really know like how he's going to come back from that. Yeah, or I guess he played 62 games last year, so he missed 100, which is a lot. But those are veteran bats who know how to approach playing every single day, and that's totally going to help the young guys because they're going to bring some consistency that they haven't really had, especially with guys like Javier Baez, who has just been a disaster.
He doesn't care anymore.
I want him to be he doesn't care anymore.
He does not give a shit anymore.
Give a shit anymore. He got the money, and all right, I'll go play shortstop for you guys, and I'll have fun doing it. But I'm not going to care if we win ball games. That's
Dude,
Javier Baez.
It was so obvious in the WBC last year. Like that's when it like hit me. I was like, this guy like really does not care about being on the Tigers. Like he could care less about being in the MLB. Like he'll just play in the WBC and call it. Like.
Man, and it's such a shame too because he's such a fun talent to watch. Like he's still really good defensively. God knows where his mind is when he's at the plate.
Some of the swings he takes, like, dude, it's like he's like a generational meme of like swing and miss.
Yeah, he totally is.
One guy that I do want to point out that we actually didn't talk about is Parker Meadows. Yes. I think he could have an awesome year. Like, I don't know that the offensive upside is crazy right now, but he's a true center fielder. Like he can absolutely fly. He's in the top 90% of sprint speed in the MLB. And even though he didn't swipe a lot of bags last year, like that's probably going to change. And the fact that he is a true center fielder opens up a lot because now you don't have to have Riley Green playing center field. That's probably going to help with his injury stuff. Like you can slot him into DH.
It's going to help with his bat, with his injury stuff for sure. And this is such a good point out of you two. I didn't know that he was that fast. And Comerica's outfield is so big that like he's just gonna delete those gaps for the pitchers too, which is great.
Yeah, I think he's a huge piece of this team. Like, and I don't know that he is going to be like a huge production offensively outside of, I think he has a good upside on stolen bases, but defensively, like he's going to be a huge help. So moving on to the Kansas City Royals, another really fun team that probably isn't going to be that good. It pained me, but under 73.5. And I think it's really close. Like, I think it's like they probably win 72 games.
It's super close. And I feel like this is a bet that a lot of baseball fans might just look at like really quickly and be like, oh, like I'm slamming that over. Like they made a ton of moves this offseason. But I'd have to agree. I'm going to go under. I don't think they're quite there yet. Obviously, Bobby Witt Jr. could win a damn MVP this year if he puts it all together. And he's just a crazy good player. And they have Vinny Pasquantino back too, which is super fun. But there's still a lot of holes in this lineup to me. MJ Melendez is projected as their leadoff hitter right now, and I know he's having a good spring, but I've yet to see him really put it together at the big league level consistently. I'm a big Salvador Perez, not big hater, but I'm not.
That his time has come.
Royals fans give me shit on Twitter because Salvador Perez is like the last piece of that World Series team, so he's like their like golden boy still, and I just don't
Holding
think he's
on
a
to
good
it for
player
dear
anymore.
life.
He just holding
Dude,
on
I
for
agree.
dear life. And Michael Garcia is frisky, and Michael Maxi's frisky. Hunter Renfroe is going to give you some home runs, and Nelson Velasquez had a really good stretch last year too. But in terms of a lineup and then their pitching staff as well, like I just can't fully go in on Brady Singer, Alec Marsh yet. And I like how they added like Lugo and Waka because like those guys are proven vets, but at the same time, like they're I can't buy in yet. I can't buy in yet. They haven't convinced me yet.
Dude, I'm the exact same. And it pains me because like this team is fun this year. Like Cole Reagans is awesome. Like we haven't even talked about him. Like I know people are sprinkling him for Cy Young. I actually just think he's going to lead the AL in strikeouts. Like that's where I would put my money over Cy Young.
Totally see
Dude,
it.
he is awesome. What a steal for them. Like that's such a like amazing steal for them. And Brady Singer, like
because they're so bad at developing starting pitching. It's like, yeah, why not just buy one for 12 mil?
Dude, that was awesome for them. And Brady Singer, like he was electric in his first year, and last year was so unbelievably bad. Like I don't even call it a sophomore slump. Like he was just flat out bad. Like the velo was down. If you look at it, the way he graded out on his slider, which is one of his better pitches, like his slider sucked last year. Like was not breaking a lot. He hung it and it got hit really hard. Same with his sinker. Like his sinker was 92 last year as opposed to I think 95 in his first year. Like that.
Dude, like he's so fun to watch. Like I love like his like wiry frame and like just like his wind up and like he's got some swag on the mat. Like this is so true where like you're just like this is a team that like you would have a lot of fun watching if you bet the over because you're just rooting for them to do so well. But at the same time, like they're still so inexperienced in my mind and they haven't proven anything yet that like if you do bet this over, like they could drive you insane with some of the ways that they'd figure out how to lose games.
Yeah, that's like the one thing is like I want to be a Royals believer so bad, and I'm just not there yet. I'm with you. I think it's going to be another year or two, assuming that they hold on to some of their younger pieces, which like awesome that they held on to Bobby Witt and like were able to lock him down. I'm not there yet with them.
Awesome. First face of the franchise they've really had since their World Series. So it's 100%. It was a good offseason for Kansas City, but I think they're another year or two away.
Yeah, agreed. Rounding it out, the Minnesota Twins, we saw them break the playoff drought last year, and they took the wild card series, which was awesome. Like I loved that team last year. Like, Sonny Gray is my favorite pitcher in the MLB, and so to see him go was disappointing. I wrote a blog about this team like early into the offseason, and I was basically just bashing them for not signing everybody because they lost so many pieces.
So many innings. They lost so many innings.
So many and quality innings too. And not to say that like Pablo Lopez can be a Cy Young, like Joe Ryan, I think is close to entering that conversation. And I like the signing of Chris Paddock. Like he's looked real sharp in spring training so far. And I like some of the other people. Like I like Louis Varland a lot. Like there's still some exciting pieces to this team, but it's not the same Twins team. I forgot to preface this. The over under is 86.5. I'm going under.
Easy under for me. I totally agree. And don't get me wrong. Like I know like, I mean, this is a prediction show. This is an over-under show and nothing's even really happened yet in Major League Baseball besides 2 games. So I'm always just saying like in a world. But there is a world where this team does cruise to a division win again. But like we've said, like they've lost Gray, they've lost Maeda. They've got some guys who need to start producing and filling innings, and their rotation just doesn't look the same. This just doesn't seem like the same Twins team too, where it is funny because it's practically the same lineup. But I had them making the playoffs last year, and I was right. So I'm just gonna bank on the fact that like for some reason like I'm so good at like predicting
Got a good
the
feel.
AL Central that like I just feel like they're not going to, and I feel like they're not gonna get this win total. But like there's
And,
totally a world where they could.
yeah, and like the Carlos Santana signing, like I like that signing, but I was kind of disappointed in it. Like I really wanted them to sign JD Martinez. Like I was talking to my buddy who was a really big Twins fan, and we were talking about it, and he's like, dude, we need another bat. Like we need like a big bat. I'm like, why on earth have you not signed JD Martinez? That was like the
That
first
would have
name that
been
we came
fun.
to.
That would have been
It
really
just like,
fun.
and I don't know what they're paying Carlos Santana. I don't know if it's that much below what JD Martinez is now making. I think JD Martinez got paid 12 million.
Yep, 1 year, 12
Um,
million. Man, and like
Santana signed for 5.2. So like,
not
yeah,
bad.
you're saving the price tag, but with the guys they lost, like, I don't know. It drove me crazy. Like I was just sitting there like, why have they not signed like a thump bat? And like Carlos Santana does have that, but he is 34 now. He's getting up there in age, and he hasn't really had a great season since like 2018. So like
Dude, he's only 30. He's Carlos Santana's 38 now. Okay, I was gonna say I feel like
30.
he's like
Oh,
pushing 40.
yeah. Okay.
Like
Yeah. So
he's
even
really
more
old.
so.
Yeah,
He
I was
hasn't
about to be
really.
like, dang, he's only 34. Like that's nuts. But
No.
that's I mean, you're totally right. Like they did save a price tag and like but they're totally just they're missing that thump at. Like Jorge Soler would have been such a good fit for this team too.
That was the other one we were talking
And
about. I was
now
blanking on it.
now you kind of put pressure on like this like Buxton like has to bounce back this season. Like Correa has to play well. Like Royce Lewis has to take that next step up. Matt Wallner and Edward Julian have to take those next steps up. So there's a lot of pressure on this lineup to kind of just play really really well and like really sound.
Yeah, dude, 100%. Yeah, I like the under there. My rankings for the AL Central, my final division standings, I'm with you on the Tigers at number one. I just think the upside is like better than what the Guardians can put together. I've got the Guardians at 2. I've got the Twins at 3, the Royals at 4, and rounding out the White Sox in last.
We have the same exact standings. The
I
same
like it.
exact standings.
I like it, and I like the Guardians there just because like I have them at 2, but like very conceivably could win the division.
Yep. That's exactly why I snuck them over at 2 because I feel like I don't know. I don't like. I'm not as high on the Twins as I was last year, and it just feels like another year in the AL Central where something's gonna flip. It just does.
Yeah, I 100% can see it. Moving over to the AL East. This was the difference in our playoff projections that I have 3 East teams in, you have 3 West teams in. That's why I
Yep.
have the Rangers missing it.
Yep.
We're kicking off with the Baltimore Orioles over under 90.5 wins. You're going to hate this. You're going to hate it. I'm on the under.
For 90, like 9-0.
Yep.
Dang. Okay. Okay. Can you wanna kind of get into that a little bit?
Yeah, we can 100% dive into that. Last year, I believe this win total was 93, and they soared over. They were on the right side of 1-win games by a significant margin, which to me is always a red flag. I think that's one of like the most glaring red flags in baseball that gets overlooked is if you're really good in 1-run games, like you're gonna take a step back. The loss of I'm totally blanking on his name right now.
Felix Bautista.
Yes, Felix Bautista. That loss is gonna hurt a lot because like yes, the one run strategy or the 1-run game metric is heavily based on like luck. I'm a baseball guy. Like I know that a good back end of the bullpen plays into that. And now you're replacing that with Craig Kimbrell, who has some huge shoes to fill. And I really like Yenny or Cano. So I'm assuming that they'll both probably split saves if I had to guess, but neither of them like match up to me. So I think you're going to see some issues with the bullpen. Like I love the Corbin Burns signing. Grayson Rodriguez, like another one of those guys that's really close to entering Cy Young talks. Tyler Wells, I like John Means, I think is okay. To me, they have some guys that have pitched above what what I think that they should, I guess is a better way to say it. Like they have some guys that have pitched better than what I think they're better as. The lineup is still like ridiculous. Like we saw today, Jackson Holiday did not make the big league roster despite mashing in spring training so far. To me, this division is just too close. Like I don't think anybody is going to win more than 93 games in this division. Like I think everybody's going to be like right at that 90 mark.
No, I mean, I could totally see that. I mean, this is probably. I know I have 3 AL West teams making the playoffs instead of 3 AL East teams, but like this is probably still the best division of baseball. It still is, even with the Rays kind of losing like McClanahan to injuries and the Blue Jays kind of looking a little bit different as well. But I'm going over with this one. This is only the second team we've disagreed on, by the way, which is kind of crazy. I think it's just Orioles and Rangers or something like that. But I'm going over just because I think all their guys are going to get – all their guys already have that kind of next offseason of trying to gain wisdom and experience. That like they have that all under their belts. This team won – did they win 100 games last year?
Yep. They won 100.
Yeah, 101. I mean, they won 101 games last year. This is my 1 seed for the American League. And it seems like they only got better. But you kind of – with Corbin Burns, I mean, but you kind of do have me a little convinced on there could definitely be some bullpen problems, especially with how bad Craig Kimbrell was down the stretch last year. And he's just so old now. It seems like I'm just waiting for the Craig Kimbrell fall off because when he was in the Red Sox, I thought this dude was old, and he's still kicking. And you're totally right with Felix Bautista. Him being out could totally kill him. And then they don't even have Kyle Bradish for some of the first half too. So
yeah, and
he's a big rotation piece. But I think this team, since they won 101 games last year, I feel comfortable with hitting that over for sure.
Yeah, they're just so balanced. Like, and to me, I genuinely think that the winner of this division like might finish with 91 games won. Like I think like there's going to be 4 teams in this division that are between 87 and 91 games. And so that's the only reason why I think they might go under. Even a guy like I love Ryan Mountcastle and Ryan O'Hearn as like the tandem of right-handed pitching, left-handed pitching, because they just like mash their respective splits. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Like I've liked Ryan O'Hearn since he was in Kansas City. Like I don't know if he continues to do what he does. Like he was arguably the most valuable bench piece in the MLB last year.
It seems like he was just like everything was going right for that dude last year. And I agree. I don't hate Ryan O'Hearn. But I think he definitely takes a step back. But at the same time, like I think guys like Gunnar and Adley, and I think Mountcastle takes a bit of a step up too. Jordan Westberg is a sneaky, really good player, and Cedric Mullins is super consistent too. And then, like, even if you get into trouble, like, you have guys like Cowser and Mayo, and then especially Holiday too, to kind of bolster that if you need like kind of a get me up. So I just like the depth and balance that this team has.
Yeah, 100%. And like I said, like it's a very close under to me. Like I fully believe that that this team can go over. But to me, like the line is kind of telling. Like, why is it so much lower than they? And like, granted, like they're probably not a 100 win team again, but to say that they are going to be 11 games worse than last year, like to me, that's kind of telling that they think that they're going to be a little bit worse than that.
No, it's definitely interesting because like you see that line, you're like, does Vegas know something that I don't like?
Yeah, that's the only reason why I like the under, really, because like the lineup is crazy. Like if Mountcastle does take that step up, this is probably the best lineup in baseball, and it's like the most balanced, anyways.
No, I mean, hey, I applaud you for taking this under. Did you throw money on it or no?
No,
Okay,
there's no
okay,
way.
that's fair.
Moving on to your guys, the Boston Red Sox, over under 77.5. Really? You
I
disagree
mean,
again?
for those listening, I was pointing under before he even said the win total. I can't tell if this is just like me, like kind of getting old and being just like a typical like Boston townie like pessimist about like my guys, but like just such a disappointing offseason from the perspective where you thought that like you might make a splash with Snell or you might make a splash with Chapman, or I mean hell you might trade for somebody. I mean they were in talks with Soto for a second it seemed like, and then like at the same time like I'm getting my hopes up for Otani, and then like man like I'm not convinced. I watch this team all the time, and their starting pitching is so dang suspect to me now, especially with Lucas Giolito out. Brian Bayo is really fun, and I'm glad they extended him, and he's going to be a solid piece. But it's just like our pitching staff is just all number three guys. Like Bayo seems like a three to me. He could become a one or two, but he's not there yet. He's only 24. And then like Pavetta, Cutter Crawford, Tanner Houck, and Garrett Whitlock. Those are the four that kind of round it out. And they don't totally move a needle for me. I get that their bullpen. Chris Martin was terrific for us last year, and Kenley Jansen showed flashes, and he's probably going to be doing the same thing where like he's going to be really good at times and really poor at sometimes too. And hell, I really like Josh Winkowski. He's a young guy that we got in the Benintendi trade a while ago, that three-team trade with the Royals and Mets. But like there's something about this team that I don't see it. And I want to so bad. Like if they signed a few more guys, like I'd totally be over. But like, give me your thoughts. Like, am I crazy on this or not? Like, what do you have the over?
No, I do, but I think that it's because I
You have
think
you
they're
have the
right.
over.
I do. I like
Okay.
the over.
Okay. Cool.
I like them to be just a little bit closer to 500. Like I think they're very capable of being a 500 ball club. To me, this total was just like too low. I think by far the best point you made was that they don't have like a true number one. Like they just have a bunch of like number threes. Like even Brian Bayo, like I agree with you. Like I really like him. Like I like his stuff. I think his upside is like a solid number two.
I agree.
Giolito out,
I
like
completely agree. And Giolito's upside is also it seems like a solid number two. But I mean, like
at this point, yeah.
he's out for who knows how long. It's just and then like their lineup, like Devers is gonna rake. Story, I could see him having a bounce back, and
Who knows?
I really like Cedane, Rafaela, and Tristan Cassis. But like the question marks for like Tyler O'Neill is a huge. Was he your X factor for the Red Sox?
No, it was Trevor Story just because
Okay,
I feel like
okay. I
he's
know
so
that makes a
capable of
lot of
being
sense too.
better.
There's a lot of pressure on Story, and I think Tyler O'Neill too,
O'Neill
because
was like my number two though.
you've seen what both those guys can do when they're playing at their best. You just don't know if you're going to get their best is the thing. But like man, like I'm rooting for Tyler O'Neill so hard this season. Like if he can,
I really like him. I
he
thought that
can
was a
go
great
back,
move.
if he can go back to what was it 2021 for him, whatever year that was, where he was just insane. Like I would be so happy. Like that would be so cool. Yeah, 2021. Like Tyler O'Neill is a guy like I want him to play so well. In 2021, like his OPS plus was 148. He hit 34 bombs. Like the city of Boston will love Tyler O'Neill if he does well, but at the same time, like hate him if he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, we even saw it. Like, I really like Jarren Duran. I don't know your thoughts on him, but Boston like ate him alive last year, or was that 2 years ago? One of his first years
that
up,
was
2 years.
ago. He had a
Yeah,
much better season this past year, and I'm kind of excited to see what he does. But I mean, this is like for the listeners out there, like don't take what I have to say about this Red Sox team. I'm just like a depressed Red Sox fan who's like still pessimistic, and like still upset that they fired Heim Bloom, because I think Craig Breslow is doing the same thing that Bloom's doing, and I think Bloom honestly knew what he was doing a little bit more, especially with the farm.
Yeah, it's hard to we might be disagreeing a lot in this division. I'm very slightly over. Like I think you're right. Like I think
I'm slightly under, and I feel like the under in general just stems from I'm upset and I just want them to be good.
Moving over to the New York Yankees, who might just be a juggernaut, as much as that makes me upset to say. Even with the Garrett Cole news, 93.5. I also like the under here.
Okay.
Again, like
no, I actually like the under as well. I think they're a playoff team in my opinion. But tell me why you like the under.
I don't think that they're a 95 win team with the strength of the AL East. I know that we mentioned earlier, like they don't play the AL East as much, so it's an advantage, which it definitely is. But especially with the Cole news, like who knows how long he'll be out. Like and it's crazy that he's hurt, because he, like, up until now, he's been the epitome of health for MLB pitchers, like in his career. So it's crazy that he's hurt right now. But that's going to hurt them. And like,
that seems super crazy that he's hurt. And like, it's such a weird injury too, because like he's still such a question mark. Like he's missing at least 1 to 2 months, but like at the same time, it's like.
But it's Garrett Cole.
Definitely going to get reevaluated.
Like, why would you much? And that's my thing with him, is like he, as a Yankees fan, like he's the golden child. Like why on earth would you want to rush him back? So like they won't. Like I find it really hard to believe. Like I think they're going to save him for the playoff push, and like if that means that he doesn't throw a single inning until the second half, so be it.
I'm so with you on that. I think if I'm a betting man, which I am, he will throw his first regular season pitch in the second half of this season.
I like that. I'm 100% with you. Like, I just think it makes too much sense. Like especially like you go get Juan Soto, like you're putting all your eggs in the basket this year, because he's on a 1-year deal, right? Soto.
Yep.
Like you're really putting your eggs in the basket for this year. Like Carlos Rodon looks pretty sharp in spring training so far. And like even with Garrett Cole, you needed him to be really good again for this team to be good. But now with Cole out, like you need it. He was horrible last year. Like that was one of the most surprising things that I saw all of last year, was how bad he was.
I saw it coming a little bit just because of his injury and like his shoulder, but he does seem a lot more sharp this year. And was he your X factor for Yankees pitching?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I mean, how he goes is how the rotation is going to go. You kind of know what you're getting with Stroman. He's going to eat innings, but he's not going to like be this ace that like delusional Yankees fans might think he could be. And then Nestor Cortez needs a bounce back, and then Clark Schmidt and Clayton Beeter are kind of question marks right now. Like the thing with getting Soto is that like he was so expensive, where like you had to trade away King, and you had to trade away Brito and Vasquez. So, and pitching depth like wasn't even super sharp last year for them as well. I know their lineup was rough too, but there is something to be said about why this total is so high. Like I feel like it's like they're still a playoff team in my opinion. I think they'll get there, but I don't think that they're gonna win 93 games, especially in the AL East, where, like you said, teams are just gonna be beating up on each other. So obviously Soto, unreal talent. Him and Judge in the same lineup, protecting each other is nuts. But Stanton was terrible last year. Rizzo seems like he's fading with age a little bit. He's almost 35 now. Volpe needs to take another step up. Verdugo and Trent Grisham are kind of fun additions. And so the lineup looks a little bit better to me. That's why I think they're not really going to be that 82-win team anymore, where they're more towards like 88 to 90 almost. But I think 93 is, especially with Cole out, is too generous for me.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And like I really like the Verdugo signing. I think that's a really good pickup. They might actually have like the worst defensive outfield in the entire MLB. Like them and the Phillies, like clear cut. Like
definitely. They're just lucky that Yankee Stadium's outfield is so small. So they don't have to cover as much ground.
And Giancarlo Stanton, like who knows? Like he probably won't hit his body weight this year, but like he might still hit 30 home runs. Like he might, like he could.
No, you're totally correct. I mean, didn't he have 3 in one game in spring training last week? I want to say he might have.
Did he?
I think he did.
I would not be surprised.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people are gonna, burn the roof down on him and say that he's gonna have a great year and then he's not gonna contribute at all. But they're kind of locked into him. But this team, yeah, I agree. Like this is still a playoff team, 100%.
Definitely.
And they're going to be scary in the playoffs, which again, like I'm sure makes you more upset than it makes me as a Red Sox fan, but
it does.
Moving over to the Tampa Bay Rays, over under 84.5. I'm going over. I refuse to doubt this team.
I'm going over too, and it pains me that they're not a playoff team in my eyes right now. It pains me, but this team's gonna win. This team's gonna win 85 games, 86 games, and not make the playoffs. That's what I think.
I could not have said it better myself. It's gonna be, to me, it's them and Toronto for like the third team in the East.
I hear you.
Assuming that the East,
we know the final 1 or 2 spots are gonna come down between them, Toronto, Seattle, and Texas. Like, it just seems like that's how it's gonna go.
And they don't have Shane McClanahan for the full year. He's out. And like people, like to me, 84.5 is so low. Like last year, there were so many injury question marks, and this total was 88.5, and they still flew over that. And I bet it last year. It was the same thing. I was like, this team won 88 games in 2022, and they got better, and they were super hurt in 2022. I'm like, they're going to go over again. And sure enough, they did. And I think it's the same case. Like they're just such a next guy up organization.
It's not. That is so the next guy up, like that is you hit it right on the head right there. Like they're at, like they just added like Jose Caballero and Richie Palacios and like all these guys that the casual baseball fan won't know, but you sure as hell can bet that they will know by June, because like these guys are just gonna like start producing right away for them.
Dude,
it's ridiculous.
It's nuts. And then they have guys like Brandon Lowe is a stud. Like Brandon Lowe.
Both Lowe's, him and Josh.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh Lowe is crazy too. Brandon Lowe is arguably like the best second baseman in the MLB. Like I think
he's at his best, talent-wise, 100%. And then like you have Yandy Diaz too. If this team had Wander Franco and none of that crap happened, they're a playoff team in my eyes. A big thing for me is that I think not having Wander Franco is going to make this lineup look a little bit less good, and they might suffer from it a little bit with wins. That's kind of my philosophy. It's no McClanahan and no Franco make me a little bit worried. But then again, like they're the Rays. They were worried about injuries last year, and like you said, they won 88 games. So
yeah, and like the signing of Ryan Pepio, like as a Dodgers fan, dude, I was really sad to see him go, because he's going to be diabolical with the Rays. Like you traded like a 23-year-old with that much talent to the Rays. Like, why would you do that? Like, he's just going to be ridiculous.
It's nuts. I believe in Taj Bradley too this year. His underlying metrics with FIP and stuff like that. If he could put it together, that could be huge for them. And then like Zach Littell has looked great this spring too. Mm-hmm. Like this, and then Aaron Savali and Zach, like this, man, like looking at their roster, and like I know they're gonna make the playoffs, and I know I'm gonna think about this moment right now, and they make the playoffs, and be like, damn, like I should have listened to Will.
Dude, I don't even think they're a playoff team. Like as it stands, like today, as we record this, I have Toronto in over them. Okay. But you're 100% right. Like they'll find a way, and it's going to be stupid. Like I have a friend that he's a big Rays hater, because he's like his favorite example is Jose Siri. He's like, Jose Siri would be ass on any other team, and he's like ridiculous just because he's on the Rays. So like that's what they do.
That's so funny. Hey, plug my burner, by the way, too. If you're listening, Jose Siri Truther, that's my burner. If people out there still don't know, like some guy was DMing me the other day to join a fantasy baseball league, and he's like, maybe we could get like that guy Jose Siri on your account to like who's always like commenting on your account to join.
Like, that's me.
Like, that's me. And he's like, holy shit.
Dude, I refuse to doubt this team. I feel like if you doubt this team, like you're just asking to be wrong. And like you're telling me that even without McClanahan, they're not going to win 85 games. Like that's at the end of the day, like that's what I mean. Like this whole division to me is 86 to 92 wins, like through and through. Like I don't think anyone's going to have more than that. And like outside of the Red Sox, nobody's going to have less than that.
No. It's nuts. I mean, baseball's in such a like we're so lucky right now. Where like there's so many loaded division. Like Centrals aside, we don't really care about the Centrals, but both Easts and Wests in each league are so good right now. It feels like there's four like really really good divisions, and then like even like with the Centrals, like they're fun too. So
The Centrals are fun. Yeah, they're not great, but they're like,
they're
dude, the
fun.
NL Central this year is going to be super entertaining.
I know.
I can't
All
wait.
right,
I'm excited
should
to
we
dive
should
in.
we hop into team
Yep.
15 out of 15?
The final one, the Toronto Blue Jays over under 86.5. I'm going over.
I'm going under, but tell me why you're going
I
over.
like it. Again, another team that I think like ends on 87 or 88. I really like the pitching. Like Chris Bassett is super underrated. Like I feel like nobody ever talks about him. He's a stud. He's so consistent. Jose Barrios like actually might be the most consistent pitcher in Major League Baseball. You got
He
Gosman, who I
probably
believe is
was
hurt
last
right now.
year, to be honest. He probably was the most consistent
Yeah.
last year.
And he's like been like that his whole career though. Like you just know what you're going to get out of him. You've got guys like Kikuchi who are very solid, like, you know, rounding out the rotation. Jordan Romano is awesome in the back end, like guys like Zach Pop. You've got some high upside guys with like Nate Pearson and Bowden Francis. Probably should have been my X factor. I actually picked Alec Manoah for my X factor for this team, but who knows
I
if
like
he's
that
even
though, because like he could come
if he's on
back.
a big club.
He could come back and just come back into form, and like it would. If
Dude,
he
he
comes
was like
back
a legit
into
all-star.
form-
Like what happened to him? Like how does that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm going under just because there's too many question marks, and by under I mean like I totally think they could like also win like 85 games and like miss the playoffs like that. Like that's totally what's gonna happen in my eyes. Nate Pearson, you just mentioned him. I'm still waiting for him to put it together, man.
Me
Like
too.
I thought this
I don't
team
know
was
if we'll
gonna
ever
win
see it.
Cy Youngs at this point right now, and then their pitching is solid at the top with Barrios, Bassett, and Kevin Gosman too. Kikuchi seems kind of a guy to me at least where like every other year he's like either like really good then really bad then really good then really bad. So like if that's kind of how it is with me, I feel like he might just struggle a little bit this year for no particular reason besides that. And Bowden Francis has been great this spring, but he's pretty unproven, so he's a big question mark. And then like looking at their lineup, Springer took a big step back last year, so I'm a bit worried about him, especially entering his age 35 season. And then Vladdy Jr. He's MLB The Show's cover boy, so
He
like
has to be better this year, but he won't be.
No, I know he might be the biggest question mark in baseball, Vlad Guerrero Jr. Because like the talent's
like
there,
that
but
take.
like it's nuts. It's nuts. And then you need guys like Dalton Varsho to show up and IKF to show up and Kevin Biggio too. I do really like the addition of Justin Turner though. The Red Sox losing him turned me off on the Sox a lot too because I love Justin Turner. I'm sure you do too from a Dodgers guy. He's super consistent and you know what you're going to get with him. So I like that as well. And then Bo Bichette is Bo Bichette. He's unreal. So this they're going to be over 500. They're going to win a lot of games, but for where I have it right now, I like the Rangers and Mariners a little bit better than them. That's all it is, really.
That's fair. You might actually swing me on that. The more I listen to you talk about the Blue Jays, you may have changed my opinion on having three West teams.
I have Orioles, Yankees, Rays, Blue Jays, Sox. So I have the Rays maybe just by like a game, but I do have the Rays sneaking over the Blue Jays a little bit. But like at the same time, like they made the playoffs last year. Like they're a consistent force. They didn't really lose anybody, and like they're still gonna play really good baseball.
Yeah, I just think like that pitching staff is really like it's just strong. Like there's not like any weak points. Like they don't have like a lot of blow you away guys like outside of Gosman and like you could argue Romano is up there for that. but I feel like everybody is just really solid at what they do. Like
No, man,
like
no,
they
you're
just,
totally right, man. Like they got depth, kind of like 1 through 5, they got depth, and like 1 through 8 in the pen, they got depth too. So
yeah.
I
And like,
like
I
it. Like
like Dalton
I
Varsho.
can't hate that over Blue Jays pick at all.
Yeah. And like Vlad, like you said, dude, like Vlad, I love that take. He might be the biggest question mark in all of baseball. Like that's
Yeah,
so true.
it might be, man. It might be.
People are gonna hate you for that. If you have any Toronto fans that
know.
follow you,
I have a lot actually, but like
yeah.
I'm only saying that because like the talent is so evident. Like he's so talented.
And last year, dude, he went through like a 2-month stretch last year where he just like forgot how to hit entirely.
Literally, it was nuts.
So running through, what's your final standings on the East?
Yeah, I just said it. Orioles, Yankees, both in playoffs, 1 and 2, and then Rays and Jays just missing it only because I like the Rangers and Mariners better, and then that other fifth team that I really like, but I'm just so upset to even say their name in fifth.
I've got the Yankees in first, Orioles in second, both in the playoffs, and then I've got Jays, Rays, and Sox.
Okay, so we're flipped 2 at the top, and then like we're flipped 1 and 2, and flipped 3 and 4.
Yeah,
which like I could totally see that happening. 100%.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, this and the West are such like toss-ups, like the first couple. Like in the East, you could give me pretty much any order of 4, and I would think that's like a valid take.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, that's our show, folks. Sam, tell the kind people where they can find you and what you got cooking up.
At Discuss Baseball on Twitter, right there. DiscussBaseball.com with the Skipper's View podcast. All those are great options. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I mean, this was a blast. I don't know when you're gonna do your NL predictions, over under stuff like that, but if I'll be listening if I'm not on it. I'll just say that because I would love to come back, but obviously that's
100%.
your show and up to you. But this was a blast. I'm excited to get going, man. I'm excited for the MLB season to get going.
So excited. It's right around the corner, folks. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at Overdue Sports, overduesports.com. Like and subscribe. Go follow Sam. I'm sure he'll be on this more than a handful of times throughout the season. That's our show, folks. We are out of here.
Lost in my back pocket, right in your front yard. This avenue signs a shamble. You only get so far.